Call the May 2022 USD 350 Board of Education meeting to order. Welcome visitors. Any additions or changes to the agenda?
Mr. President, I move the board approve the agenda as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Consent agenda.
I have nothing unusual to report on the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Patron comments.
Cindy Crocker to say a few words.
Okay.
Can I just-
Yep.
Okay.
Stand up or say whatever you want.
I guess I wanted to ask that well, first of all, I'm Cindy Crockett. Most of you know who I am. I see a couple of faces I might not. And I'm one of the coaches for the St. John, Kansas High School Trap League. And I noticed that we do not, or are not on the All Sports Banquet. And I would like to ask or wish that we could be on there to recognize our kids for the efforts that they have. It is a sport. We have 17 out. They're out there, wind, sometimes rain, shooting. It's an expensive sport, but they make the effort. We had 17 out this year. We have 2 of those that are, we have a female who is first in the conference. She's tied for first. I think it would be nice for them to be recognized. We have another individual who is 13th in the conference. It would be nice to have them recognized just as we recognize any other sport that we have. I would also, unfortunately my notes that I had didn't get printed because technology failed me at the farm, but I just think that we should recognize them, and I don't know why we don't. I don't know why we can't, during the banquet, well, it's an all-sports banquet, we can't give out the awards that are due them. They're representing our school. We use the school mascot, St. John Tigers. So sorry, I'm going to use your daughter. Lily won 3rd in the state conference. That's a feather in your guys' cap as a school. She got 3rd. There in our conference, this year we have over 2,000 kids. To be 3rd, it's a pretty big accomplishment, I think. And we didn't recognize her, I didn't think, that like we should have. She should have gotten an award or been recognized or whatever for her efforts. The Kansas High School League does have, I'm going to hand one out to you guys, a criteria, kind of an example. You could follow this, kind of gives you an idea how you go about it. To letter them, you don't have to follow that. It's just kind of an idea that we could do. I went ahead, excuse me, we have honors for 25 straight, 50 straight, 75 straight, 100 straight. Patches. Sorry. Last year I bought little lapel pins that said 2021 trap as a letter for them. But we didn't have, I didn't really have any guidelines because we didn't recognize them. So, but if we had something that we could have, if you go through there, it'll tell you that, they have to have a GPA of 2.0. They've got to be respectable students. They can't be in trouble. If you're flunking all your classes, can you play basketball? No. Or volleyball or whatever. It's just like this. It would be nice if we could follow that. We, like I said, we have 17 out. In the conference, we are considered class 1A. There's two. We're 1A. We're conference 8. Our conference goes by, and I don't know how basketball does, but conference 8 because we have 17 out. If we only had 7 out, it would be a different conference, of course. I would also like to ask or suggest or see if when we go to state, can we use a couple of Suburbans or whatever to transport some of these kids to state? We get no financial aid from you guys at all. The money that we raised is through a raffle, concessions, personal donations. I understand that we're part of the school, but we're not part of the school. And that's confusing to me because if we're not part of the school, why did we use your tax ID number? If we're not part of the school, why did we buy a gun through your tax ID number? I don't know, guys. I'm not asking you guys, I'm not asking for monies, like I said, or a fund or whatever. I'm not asking for a budget. I'm just asking for a little bit of help with recognizing these kids during this all sports banquet. I'm just asking for when we, like I said, go to state. Can we can we transport? Some of those parents won't be able to do it. Rely on other, and we'll be there. We'll make sure they get there. But we do it for others. Why can't we do it for these guys and the effort that they're doing? We offer scholarships. They'll be in line for scholarships and other awards. I don't know what your guys' feelings are or what.
Well, I can say it's an important activity, and it's new for us, and it's new for a lot of schools, and it is a positive activity, and none of the schools have it as a, quote, school activity, school-sponsored activity, because insurance would not allow that. So offering up the name and picture in the yearbook, even the lettering policy, all those things are okay. Transportation I need to look into, whether that is workable situation, but.
I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to Keith Drilling, who directed me to KASB. Mm-hmm. And I didn't make enough copies for everybody because, like I said, if you look at, and it's like I said, it's kind of it is section 72-6132H. The provisions of this section do not apply to, so the pupils of weapons at school, on school property, or at school supervised activity if the possession of the weapons by pupils is connected with a weapons safety course of instruction or a weapons educational course approved and authorized by the school, or if the possession of weapons by pupils is specifically authorized in writing by the chief administrative officer of the school. So what that's telling me, I think, is if we're, like you said, it's not an activity. You're saying it's not an activity. But it's a little pretty gray area here. If that would be up to you guys.
Well, and our insurance company.
Oh, your insurance company.
Yeah, that's the big kicker.
Okay.
And
Well,
we all know that firearms sports are very safe, but
Yeah.
I think insurance companies look at it as the downside to that is, you blow a knee out in basketball, but it could be very, very bad if there's an accident in shooting sports,
Right.
even though it's very safe. But
So,
And we did talk about taking Suburbans last year. All the ones that went last year, and you and I talked about it, the parents were all wanting to go anyway and stay the night before and stuff. So
Okay.
that wasn't ever ruled out as an option.
Okay, well, I guess I don't
state.
remember.
So,
We only had
we
5
just
last
didn't-
year.
We didn't know for, right.
This
And we
year
didn't know for
13.
sure then, would somebody else have to transport the firearms? And we'd still have to check with lawyers on that to make sure, I think, because that's what you're saying.
Yeah, we just need to check with our insurance on the transporting the firearms and that. I mean, I think we'd be okay, but I need to check on that, 'cause
So what if a personal person transported them, but we had 2 school vehicles transport just the kids?
that's a feasible option.
That's a feasible, okay, okay,
Something we need to discuss.
okay. Well, you know women, we just want an answer now.
Right. And as far as the banquet, the Booster Club recognizes Kansas High School Activities Association sports activities. That's their threshold. So they don't recognize the Scholars Bowl at that banquet. They don't recognize 4-H activities and things like that. But it's something that we could discuss.
And that's put on by the Booster Club. And
So it's something you have to
and-
ask, would have to ask them, the Booster Club is what you're saying?
Yeah.
The Booster Board, to see if they would
I
recognize?
mean, shooting is part of our school, but it's not a KHS sponsored event.
I realize
We
that.
don't want it to be KHS sponsored.
Right, and
Too many regulations.
but they're having, when I talked to, do you know who Bill Flick is? Like, okay. When I talked to his assistant today, Mindy, she said that they don't govern that. They have had people ask in schools, but they've decided that it's better that they do it the way we're doing it.
Right.
Because of that, I get, yeah. I don't want to, like I said, ask too much, but I don't think we're getting nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're getting, a name and that, but that's it. Another question I've been asked, and we've told them that we have to address it next year. We have other people, we have kids from like Maxville and Stafford that want to join our team. Co-op with us. I don't know. I don't know what to tell them.
That would be up to you guys as the parents that run that. If you have room for them and want to take them, then it'd be different than when we're talking about transportation.
Oh, that'd be, okay.
And a lettering policy, if we did something like that.
I've reached out to the organization, and because Scott Paul's with principal at Maxville called me.
Okay,
They
yeah.
coming in.
I've been calling everybody, I think.
It's kind of a gray area whether that could even happen or not. Because if that could happen, then teams could actively, because it's not KHS sponsored, transfer rules and recruiting from one school to another to build a super team wouldn't be regulated. So I haven't even gotten a clear answer on whether we can, but I've also talked to Scott about helping them start a program. And they could probably still practice at the same time as ours, with our kids, but they would have their own program
Okay.
per se. That would circumvent that.
There is a form, though, that the Kansas High School Clay Target League, and I've seen it, that can be filled out from a student from another school if they want to come join the team. And that doesn't have, there's no conflict at all there. They just have to fill out the form. It has to be approved by, and they can join. My thing is that if we're co-oping with Stafford for the wrestling, what about those kids and they say, well, you're not going to co-op with us. We're not going to co-op with you. You know what I'm saying? I want to make everybody happy. But at the same time, we have to have one coach for every 10 people. Mm-hmm. Right now, if we don't get another coach, it wouldn't be something that we could do,
And that's my, my thought. We've talked about this in our meetings, I think, is if it takes away from the St. John kids, depending on how many people from Maxville or Stafford or wherever might join, it might take the benefit away from some of our kids, and we'd have to be careful when we weigh that in too.
Right. Well, and when we compete, they compete individually. You know that.
But I'm talking about practice time.
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, okay. I think that's all I got to talk about. Yeah, yeah.
Well, let me look into the transportation situation, see if that's feasible, and we'll discuss with the Booster Club and our staff about a letter policy and some recognition.
And then, okay.
Real quick question, Cindy. What's your total budget? What's it cost a year for 17 kids to shoot? I know I'm hitting
It's
you.
gonna say probably, well, this year, I'd say $450 a kid.
Yeah, 500 a kid. is
Yeah,
about what we
and we got
were-
17. Like I said, we had a raffle, we raised money for that. I think we got close to 18,000 in the account. Rick Steinmates, hats off to that guy, paid for all of our targets. I applied for through federal, to get shells at a cheaper rate, $7 a box. And we could order up to 2 pallets. I put in order for 2 pallets. Only I didn't think I wanted to stick my neck out for $16,800, and we didn't have that in the budget. I hope Rick doesn't get upset that I'm saying this, but I mean, he needs to be patted on the back too. This guy has really bent over backwards for our kids, and he's improved the shooting range. I wish you guys would all come out sometime and watch these kids. But we didn't get 2 pallets. We got a pallet and a half, and he footed all the money, guys, all of it. And we tried to offer him, and he said no. I mean, he is there. It's most important for him for the kids. And some of these are his concerns. He would like to see other kids have the opportunity from other schools. If they want to, let them do it. Let's open it up and let them do it. Why not? You know, we'll figure it, I mean, let somebody else can maybe coach. You know. So, yeah, about 5, yeah.
So that 550 didn't cover what Rick Steinmay's done?
No, because you got parents who just,
Right.
yeah, we pay for our own and,
Well,
you know,
and
help out and,
when I talked to Rick, he wanted us to save the money that we made off the raffle, so we'd have an operating budget moving forward, instead of scrapping every year.
but next year will have to be different because,
absolutely.
yeah, we'll have to,
We have the money in the account to
Yeah,
buy ammunition up front,
yeah, yeah.
replace that money. I mean, that will be our operating.
Yeah, because we're shooting 100 shells, each kid's shooting 100 shells a week. We have 2 practices, we shoot 50. Competition doesn't start until, we have 5 weeks of competition, this is our last week. We practice before that. But, yeah, if you got 17 kids shooting, that's a lot of, yeah.
Have you had interest from anybody besides Maxville?
Stafford,
You have had
Yes.
people from Stafford?
yes, yes. And I just say, I don't know, I'm just a coach. I can't give you, go ahead.
What kind of numbers? 2 or 3 from there, 2 or 3 from here? What?
There was two from Maxville and 3 from Stafford that wanted to. Now, do they, you know, we had some last year that wanted to. This year they didn't want to. We had some kids last year that were on team that didn't want to do it, you know. Then we had some kids that went, dang it, can I still sign up? No, there's a deadline, you know. So we are one of the, around this area, one of the schools that have a lot of kids out. I talked to a coach in Fairfield, and he couldn't believe we had, last year we had 21. He just went, they had 8. He goes, how do you do it? I said, well, you do it. But we were fortunate enough, like I said, we have a private range. If we didn't have Rick, it would be harder. Because we'd have to pay to shoot at either, you know, Stafford or haul the kids to Pratt, which, like I said, that, or Kinsley.
Rick's out there all the time running it too, a lot of times.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I just
That's a long
left, when
time,
I
man.
left him. And he is not on, and I keep trying to get him to do this, he's not on the coaches, Kansas High School target, their radar. Because I say, Ricky, just sign up, be a coach, so we have you on there, you know? And he's like, well, you know, but I don't know how some of these kids would be without him, because he's one heck of a coach. He's patient with them, he knows what he's doing, he's been doing it a long time himself, but he just, insurance-wise, he would be covered himself, even though it's his place, because we have insurance. But if you're not registered as a coach or whatever, if you get hurt out there, the league won't pay for it. Their insurance doesn't cover you, so that's why I say, yeah, get on there.
And moving on, I think, you know, the people of the club have to get together and figure out whether or not to allow others in before we even move farther with whether the board, because the board has to sign off on that paper you were talking about too, or the administration does,
Oh, okay,
to transfer in, so.
okay, okay. Okay, well,
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
yep. Let me know tomorrow.
Well, if you could've known that quick.
All right. Capital outlay.
This is still a working draft, but we're kind of getting closer on some items. We've got a big grant, emergency connectivity grant. Lisa got us 79,000, I think, 76,000, somewhere in that range. So freed up a lot of our technology needs, and we put those dollars elsewhere. I do have it in here to purchase probably a Ford Transit. I have no idea on when we can get that. Our bus that we ordered in October is set to arrive at the end of September. So any new buses we order, they're telling people 13 months out. And I don't know when that will turn around. A video surveillance upgrade. We've got some areas that are not covered very well. I don't want to speak about those specific areas in an open meeting, but we've got a number of areas that we need to add cameras. We had a lot of room on our system. We were kind of limited on our budget when we initiated that. I did just get the quote back today, and it's closer to 17,000, not 7,000, to get all that done. It's essentially almost like doubling what we have. So you can up that number a bit. Access control system, I'd like to look into that. Our system is pretty obsolete. It's hard to get serviced. That's our magnetic door locks and that control system. It's pretty much obsolete. Good news is the state will have safety and security grants available, so we may be able to cover some of that with that. That's a good estimate quote I got a few years ago. I know everything's more expensive now than it was yesterday. And then looking at the north doors, the entrance. I'm working on the tennis court, getting a recoloring. That'll extend our warranty by 5 years. We've got some warranty work to do on that with the crack system. A facilities needs assessment. So that would be an architect or a firm coming in to assess all of our facilities and lifespan on mechanical and electrical and all of that. And it'll be a significant cost. That's one thing that really became clear with our discussions in our strategic planning, that we have so many needs, we don't really know how to prioritize. And then looking at the north entrance doors, I'm hoping that number is high, but they're pretty expensive when it's not just taking a door off the hinges and plugging in a new one, like you would do at your house.
The track, are we okay now?
The track is, it's got several years left in it. We'll need to restripe that, which will be a few $1,000s. I don't have this in here. Bus, activity bus, we really need to consider a new activity bus, which is kind of why I'd consider this a draft, because I don't have that anywhere in here. Our bus number 2 is down for 30 days waiting on a part. And it's getting up there in miles, and really need to consider finding a way to work that into the budget. But with our goal of having $250,000 ending balance, we've got some room there, some wiggle room, shifting some priorities, so. Any thoughts or suggestions, questions on
When we order a bus, how much do we have to put down?
nothing? Just a purchase order?
Okay.
Have you seen any safety ratings on them transit buses?
No. No, the state will not allow you to transport pupils in 10 and 12 passenger, cargo style vans. Those are illegal because they're so unstable. But the 10 passenger transits are deemed safe. I haven't seen any specific ratings, but. Thoughts or anything? So I'll keep communicating with you about this in Friday notes, and we can get a final draft. If you have other thoughts, feel free to send them our way.
Student handbook.
This is also one of those items we looked at a bit last meeting. We didn't talk about it much. Blaine and I need to carve out some time between now and our June meeting to finalize some of these things, get some input from staff members. Our arrival time, we used to arrive at 7:30, and a lot of the kids would show up and we put them in the gym, and it's worked well with our COVID situation. We didn't want all the kids in there, but it's kind of worked out better that we're a little more efficient rather than loading everybody in there. This, I'm talking elementary, and then all the teachers come and get them. It's just a lot of wasted effort. Parents drop them off at 7:50 and we go from there. We dismiss from the gym at 7:50. We get started at 8 o'clock in the classroom. We're not walking kids all over the building. So we still have the gym available if parents need to get to work and need to drop them off at 7:30. We have breakfast available. So it's worked out pretty well. That's one thing we need to clarify in our handbook. I know they're talking about building passes, how we do that for junior, senior high school. Adding something about truancy, we don't have that in there. We do have our attendance policy, but the truancy part is missing. Cell phones, electronic devices, right now it's the policy is it's up to the classroom teachers. Some have good luck with it, some don't. That's been a topic of discussion of how do we handle that? What do we need to do to reword our policy where it makes more sense for what we're doing and eliminate or reduce classroom disruptions.
Could we get information from the teachers on that one, whether it's a survey or what, if they'd rather have universal policy, if they think it's a problem, some feedback from there.
We have that. I'm not sure that you guys have discussed it yet. The teachers did have a survey about that. So. Also, same thing with open lunch. There's been some discussion about kids, a handful of kids having bad habits over their lunch break, making bad decisions, and should we consider closing lunch? That's a difficult situation when we have it already and punish the entire student body for the behaviors of a few is one consideration. Another consideration is our scheduling. Right now we have our schedule set where junior high and high school eat lunch at the same time, but so many of the high schoolers leave for lunch. If we did it all at one time, that we would have to change our high school schedule. We could not do it. We could not do it all at one time. Also, doing it right now would be a tough sell to some parents, I know, because this upcoming school year, we go back to the way it was with our lunches, that you have to pay for your lunch. It's not everybody's getting it for free. You have to qualify for free lunch, so At the same time, we're saying your kid has to eat lunch at school now. Oh, by the way, they have to pay for it too. So,
Or they could bring
It's-
back lunch.
or they could bring a stack lunch, yes.
Is there any way to tie it to academic standing, like where you're at?
Yes, there's any number of ways we could do it. The difficulty becomes policing that. And he wasn't supposed to be gone for lunch, but he is now. So, something being discussed, for sure.
Do we have much waste just with variability on who's eating there each day?
No, Sandra's got it pretty much nailed down where she's got a pretty good idea of if we're having corn dogs, we'll have 12 people, 12 high schoolers eat. If we're having Huntington chicken, we'll have 32. So she's pretty good at, she knows what the kids like to eat and what they don't like to eat. But definitely a concern with when they leave campus, what are they doing? But it's not all 91 students doing those things, so.
There's probably not too many schools that still have an open lunch hour.
Several, that I know of.
Yeah, it's all over the board. I don't even think you can say small school versus big school. McPherson, they have their juniors and seniors can go home. Freshmen and sophomores have to stay. And again, that becomes a policing issue of how do we make sure all the sophomores stayed?
Especially if there's 2 kids in high school.
Yeah.
My freshman has to eat at school, but my
Right,
senior needs to go
right.
home, yeah.
So it's definitely a concern, but it's more than just, yeah, let's just close lunch and be done with it. There's, it's tougher than just that, but.
It's been open a long time.
At least 60 years.
Any other input right now on the handbook? Again, we'll kind of hash some of those things out.
I'm really interested in the phone situation too.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Also, probably looking at, and I haven't talked to you about this either, Josh, but looking at revamping academic honesty policy that we have in the book, the cheating, using electronic devices and stuff, so I've got a proposal for that, but not ready to talk about it yet because I haven't really looked at it, had time to look at it.
I've heard a little bit about the dress codes, just how sometimes hoods and hats really isn't enforced, but some other things are. Just a question there, like, do we need to change the policy or do we need to start just actually enforcing the policy? I don't know. I've heard a lot about hoods. I didn't really know hoods were a thing, but just heard a bunch about it, so.
It's been an issue, yeah. And that's sort of been some of our discussions about, we need to make sure our practices match what our policy is.
All right, thank you. Drug dog agreement.
You recall, we used to have an agreement with Providence. They are out of Tulsa. I've had a working relationship with this company for even before I came to St. John. They've been good to work with. And then when St. John Police got their K-9, we didn't feel we needed that. But then circumstances have changed, so we've been working on getting them to come out, but we couldn't ever get them out. But I do have a contract here that I'd recommend approval. This is for 7 visits. We can call them out as many times as we want. If we feel the need, if we've used up all the visits and we have a situation that we need addressed, we'll call them in and deal with that. The difference between a private company and a police department is a police dog can pretty much only hit alert on illegal narcotics. These dogs will hit on gunpowder, prescription drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and illegal drugs. The reason a police dog can't be trained to alert on, let's say, alcohol is because alcohol is legal for you to possess and have. Well, if the dog would alert on alcohol and they find drugs, then maybe there'd be problems with constitutional rights. But so they can do a lot more and hit things, alert on things that we don't want at school, but may not be illegal to have in the general public. Our goal is to have them come in. A few years back, we had them come in at the beginning of the year and did some training with our staff. We plan to do that again on what devices look like, or how are they seeing illegal substances being hid and transported, and recognizing signs of inebriation, those things. So I would recommend approving this contract for next year.
And if we do that, would it be communicated to the local law enforcement when they're coming or anything, or
No,
no involvement whatsoever?
we don't know when they're coming.
Okay.
Me and Mr. White do not know when they're going to show up. Now, we can call them, and so if there is a situation where the dog would alert on something and contraband is found, then we do a chain of custody and then call the police in. They have all that documentation, so.
Okay.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the agreement with Providence Working Canines for a base fee of $2,100 for the 2022-23 school year as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the agreement with Providence Working Canines for a base fee of $2,100 for the 22-23 school year as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Daycare provider.
We had one proposal from Nikki Soka. She lives in Great Bend currently, and she had a lot of contact with me, visited the building. We visited about she had a lot of questions about how would we do this and that, and I feel comfortable with her operating that daycare. We've got some details to work out as far as just putting the specifics in a memorandum of understanding. Utilities would be her responsibility to pay as the business owner. Maintenance things, if you're gonna change a filter in the heater, you take care of that. Kind of like if you're renting a house, you're not, as a tenant, you're not gonna be responsible for painting the home, but those little maintenance things she would be responsible for. But
How many years experience does she have?
So 4 years. She ran a daycare in her own home. She's been most recently employed at a pharmacy in Great Bend, and making the transition. So she gave me her budget and everything, and I feel pretty confident that she'll be good to work with and do a good job. We have 4 staff members that expressed interest in the full-time and 2 half-time. So we're half full already with just our staff.
Is there anything else we need to do for the facility to get it ready?
Yes, we need to put a kitchenette in there and put a fenced-in play area. So those are the 2 main things. And we'll work with the daycare committee and see what kind of funds we can raise there, but may require some capital outlay dollars.
Who's doing the playground?
I don't know. I haven't even started down that road on.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would recommend approving her proposal.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the proposal for Nikki Soka for daycare services in the district-owned building.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the proposal from Nikki Soka for daycare services in the district-owned building. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Fee schedule.
You have your fee schedule here. Really the only thing that has changed is the lunch fees, or meal fees. You have last year's prices in there, and then in bold, the proposed prices for the upcoming school year. The ones in parentheses are actually from 2 years ago, what we set it to be at that time. It ended up being free the last 2 years, but.
With their rising cost of goods, Sandra's okay with where we're at, or we may have to supplement more.
Yeah, she's okay with this. I think I'd hate to go much more than that. And this would cover us with our federal lunch program, I think.
Mr. President, I move that the board approves the fee schedule as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the fee schedule as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. KSB dues and legal assistance fund.
So we have option one, just a membership renewal. We don't do enough professional development with KSB to warrant that season pass. So we have the two things, the dues and then the legal assistance fund. They're all both recommend that we are members of both of those. We get a lot of good legal services. And then there's an adoption agreement there. Get a chance to look at that. We'll have Derek sign off on that. My recommendation would be to approve those.
Mr. President. Go ahead.
Go. All right.
You started.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the dues of $5,480.83 for the membership in the KASB and the fee of $2,300 for the legal assistance fund for the 22-23 school year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the dues for $5,480.83 for membership in KASB and the fee of $2,300 for the legal assistance fund for the 22-23 school year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I finished this board packet in the vehicle at the track meet. Send it from there, so. I didn't have time to send it to Elisa to
Roofing bids.
I got 2 bids on the library roof. The second one was a lot more friendly as far as price goes. I looked at the specs here and they seem pretty much identical. So we're looking at $110,645.32 from CCR Roofing.
Now,
would be the
are they
recommendation.
taking it all the way down to the bottom?
Yes,
Okay, because I wondered about that when I looked at the bids.
yeah,
That was including that.
yeah,
Okay, that's how I read the bids too,
yeah,
but wow.
yeah.
So with this cheaper bid here, I don't know anything about them, obviously. I've heard of Ray.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
We've had good luck with Ray. They do a lot of our repairs, and this was just a significant difference. And these guys are going to do an overall roof assessment for us as well.
okay.
Yeah.
Did you contact them or just came through the state bid when you put it out?
They actually contacted me about doing a roof assessment and, just coming in to look at our roofs to see how the state of them, and they do that for free, hoping that they're going to get to work. I mean, it doesn't always work out that way in the bid process, but I said, I'm glad you contacted me because I need a bid also.
Any references with these folks?
I haven't talked to anybody personally, but yeah, I've seen some of the work they've done on the portfolio.
Yeah.
I feel confident with them for that much of a difference. I've got no reason to say we shouldn't go with the low bid.
Right.
Okay.
I just couldn't see the difference.
Yeah, I couldn't even. So, I'd recommend that the board approve the bid from CCR Roofing for $110,645.32. If somebody wants to make that a
So
motion.
moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the bid from CCR Roofing for $110,645.32 to replace the library roof. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, KISA year forward updates.
So KISA is our Kansas Education Systems Accreditation. We had our visit from an outside visitation team. We have a superintendent from Little River, a teacher from McPherson, and a principal from Haven. They came in and we went over our progress with our goals. Things went pretty well. Our goals are focused on family engagement and social emotional learning and well-being of students. And then a lot of other stuff. Honestly, I'm putting more thought and effort into our strategic planning than this process, but we still have to go through this. And next year will be our accreditation year. I won't read all of this to you, but it's required that we have that in a meeting that you all saw it. Did you have any questions, or did you need me to review anything specifically? A lot of this data we've already seen and talked about. Just hasn't been in this specific form. Okay, that's.
Thank you. Communications, board member activities. Carl,
I don't have any.
Debbie,
I'm trying to find the date for the retirement party for Dr. Bob. He's leaving at the end of September, I believe is the end of his contract. And Megan Etheridge just got her doctorate and is going to start as the new director. And Bruce Gibbons will be mentoring her for the first 6 months. We also have somebody who's now going to be specifically doing budgeting so that doesn't fall solely on the director. And we'll go back to having 3 assistants so that there's more visibility out at the schools. That's been a real concern the last 2 years. So right now they're meeting, and we have supper beforehand, so.
So when we don't make it work for our second Monday, I always move it to the third Monday.
And I missed out on a free
Yeah.
meal. I mean, I'd send one of you guys tonight with tacos, but. I think Dr. Bob's, I want to say it's the day after Memorial Day. But I can send you a note if anybody's interested in going, let me know.
okay, thank you. Darren?
Yeah, I went to senior night, and I thought they did a good job tonight. I'll give credit for Mr. Knight for his film he put together. I thought that was really good.
And Mrs. McAllister for the senior programs in their portfolios too.
Yeah, they did a good job. And then obviously I went to graduation, and everything went smoothly.
Sean?
Nope.
Went to graduation, and great time. Really thought, and we even thought the teachers were handing out too many valedictorians. See how easy it is, but
Yeah.
it's good.
Record number of speeches, probably.
Yeah, it was good.
It's good.
Still shorter than the one I heard in Wichita. Or amazed.
It's good. We got out of there in an hour with 8 of them, so
Yeah.
it's not bad.
It was good.
So, all right, nothing for me, so. Administrative.
Was 8 valedictorians we had, 4 of them would have been more than happy not giving a speech. No. I said, your moms want you to give a speech. So, no, I thought graduation went pretty well, and Again, all of our end of the year wrap-up stuff, our baccalaureate was well attended, senior night was well attended. The SJN Bank does a scavenger hunt, and all but one of our students went for that. So, good group of kids, and I should have figured it up, I didn't, but not just those 8 kids, but the average GPA of the other 2/3 of the class is pretty darn good too, you know, so. Pretty phenomenal class, and we're gonna miss them, but they're gonna be pretty successful, just like all of our students are. State of Kansas requires that we teach a unit on CPR, and we do it during freshman health. Just reminding you guys of that, if you hear anything about it, we do cover that. It's an exposure course, they're not certified through it. We actually did that today, completed it today, so we like to push it right up to the end. But Nurse Lisa and Trish do that during the health class with Mrs. Witt, so have that done. End of the year stuff, regional golf was today. Connor Gillespie placed 4th and punched his ticket to state as an individual. So he'll be going on next Monday and Tuesday, play at Heston course. So wish him luck. Thursday's the last day of school. It's also regional track at Spearville. So after Thursday, we should know what we have as far as state track. And state track is on Friday and Saturday. COVID forced them to go to a 1-day schedule before, but they've gone back to the 2-day format where our kids will compete Friday afternoon and then again on Saturday. I had visited with Mr. Knight at one time about maybe getting some of his AV kids to come in and talk about their experience at Imagine, and the year just closed down way too fast, so we didn't get that done. But if you haven't seen some of the videos that those young adults have produced, I'd suggest you go out to the AV Productions Facebook page and see what they've put down and the accolades they've gotten. We're entered into 2 national competitions. One of those we'll have more information on by the end of May. The other one we won't know until July, and the awards is in Atlanta where?
I know the May one's in Atlanta
Okay.
in June or July, and then the other one is in New York City in October.
Okay, so we probably might not. But, you know, and our kids are really, they're building some confidence, and some of the students who are in that class have really, I think, found a niche for them that has worked well. And I think Isaac's planning on going on to, Isaac Torres has done a lot of editing, and he's planning on going on into that field. So that's a situation where being involved in that's given him a purpose, I think. So go out and look at those if you haven't seen what they've done. And I would even say go back as far as you can and compare some of their first videos with where we're at.
I'm gonna start deleting things.
A lot of those kids have been in there for a few years, so it's pretty cool to see them grow in that area. I think we talked about this at one other time. Bike Across Kansas will be here on June 13th. Stay the night, leave on the 14th, morning of the 14th. Kind of had a little bit of a problem with groups wanting to do any fundraising meals and stuff like that, just because once summer hits, everybody's busy with basketball camps and stuff like that. So if you know any groups that would like to set up and do a fundraiser of a big meal on Monday night or breakfast on Tuesday morning or something, I would say get a hold of me, but get a hold of Carolyn. No, get a hold of her or me, and we'll get it worked out. But gonna have about 550 to 600 people in town that day, so they'll be all over the square, and they'll stay the night. I think we decided they're gonna stay on our playground area, right, in the blacktop.
Yeah.
Probably. They'll have some rented tents, and they'll be staying inside. Some of them will sleep in the gym, and they use our showering facilities, and we'll have a station set up for nursing type stuff in case of injuries, and so a lot of people coming through town that day. talked a little bit about the academic honesty policy. One of the big issues that we're facing, and everybody is vaping. So I thought I'd bring some to share, and take the flavor you like. I don't know, you guys probably are familiar with vaping enough, but I thought I'd show you some of the devices that have been confiscated here. It's a pressing issue everywhere, and it gets more and more pressing because, as you can see, we have some peach mango. I don't know, I think we might have some blueberry. I got some cheesecake in my desk and some other neat flavors that are obviously marketed specifically toward kids. Those are pretty easy to conceal. And
Explain, these are taken off some kids at
Yes,
school?
yes, sir.
So what happens to these kids?
Well, right now, I do ISS and I turn it over to the police and call their parents. I was just told by Chief Perez that turning it over to the police isn't doing any good because the city attorney said that she can't write a ticket for them.
They have to come into the building.
They have to come into the building and be there when that's taken, so I'll have to call her, have her come take it from the kid, or whoever's on duty. And I don't mind doing that, I really don't, but, and I've tossed around out-of-school suspension. I don't know, would that be a deterrent? Maybe. What are they gonna do when they go home? Vape? I don't know. I like the in-school suspension from the fact that at least we're there and we're still educating them to some degree. And I make them stay until 4 o'clock instead of letting them go at 3:20. I've talked to other principals, several in our league. Most of them would agree that they haven't had any success with out-of-school suspension being a deterrent. And the real, I guess, issue there is by calling the parents, if it's a parent who's gonna have some accountability at home without a school suspension, they're also, once they have gotten my call, they're gonna take care of it at home. Anyway, so Mr. Meyer and I have talked about this a lot.
That one's the same size as a thumb drive.
So this one actually, this is a battery. This pod goes into it and charges, and this is all they have to have on them to be able to use it. And that's the challenge. I mean, you know, put it in a bra and I'm not checking there. Put it in a lot of places and not be found. The concern more than anything that I have is this one's tamper-proof. It's a one-time use. You use it, you throw it away. And there's no way that it can be tampered with unless you pull this end off, and you can put whatever you want to in the filter that goes along with it. You can smell that.
It's like you pulled it apart pretty easily.
Yes. So my concern is somebody could put something in that. That one's been tested. Nothing's been added to it. But I don't know. And the other issue, and I've just been reading about this and hearing about it from some other people. They sell the bottles of the vape juice, I don't know what it's called, the liquid, that you put in the old style where you filled them up with the fluid and it's just a pipe, you know. But they're filling ink pens like this up with it, and then it will drizzle out through here, and they can actually, I mean, get it, oh. But anyway, so they get the nicotine ingested through the gel, and the pen wouldn't be colored. It would be just look like a regular ink pen, and when they click the button, it puts a drop out. Okay, so I don't know. So I'm going to, I've talked to Tori. I'm going to try and get together with with her and the city attorney and with the county sheriff, because it involves all of those. I want something beyond school. I don't necessarily want the kids to, you know, have a record right off, but if law enforcement will at least go talk to the parents or issue some kind of a citation. I think that helps us on our end. So we're gonna have to work together and figure out what the process is that we need to go through to make sure we're doing it right. And his point was, if I take it off and I hand it to Tori and I say, this belongs to this kid, they don't really have any written account if they wanted to fight it as far as, but I want to find something that includes them also, okay? And maybe, you know, like I said, Mr. Meyer and I have talked about this a lot. I'll visit with staff about it on Thursday, or Friday, excuse me. Talk to them about it on Friday, and we'll discuss consequences and what's right and what's wrong. One of the things that I'm, you know, vape education, I had some stuff set up where people were gonna, I had 2 different people that were gonna come in and talk about this thing, or this type of stuff before COVID, and then during the rest of COVID year and the following year, they wouldn't come in, and I really didn't follow up on it much this year, but we need to. I don't know that we have a worse problem than anybody else around, but we have a problem. And I'll just tell you, just for example, the person I took this one from, this one's not made to be hidden, right? It was, the outline of it was seen in her pocket, and she was sent to me, and she just handed it to me and said, I use it. I thought I left it somewhere else. I didn't realize I even had it with me. Well, that's a problem. You know, I don't know if I believe that or not, but everybody that I've taken one from was just holding it for somebody else, by the way. They've never used one in their life.
Well, you can see it before school, lunch hours. I mean, you can definitely see it when they leave their vehicles. Leaving their vehicles.
Yeah. And so we're gonna try and get some, you know, vape education going. I don't know what the frequency will be, but if we can't beat it, because they keep marketing, the technology gets more and more against us. Smaller, easier to conceal, better flavors. We'll try to hit it with education as much as we can, and just keep trying to be vigilant.
Part of this needs to be too, not just punitive, but help. Because kids are addicted to it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get, it doesn't hurt like it's cigarette, it doesn't make you sick, but it's dangerous for you, and they hurt pretty easy now.
So this,
how do we help kids if they are really addicted?
What's the percentage now of high school kids?
I don't have that data. We did the Kansas Communities That Care survey in January. We got the results back. I haven't really gone through that to see if our kids are reporting a higher usage. Okay. One of the issues, that roughly holds about the same nicotine as what a pack of cigarettes would have in it, but your body doesn't reject this. When you inhale it, like cigarette smoke, your body wants to get rid of it. It doesn't really reject this, so they can get more nicotine in faster, which gets them addicted quicker. The other thing that we're looking at doing, there are electronic hall passes that are out there. Cost a little bit of money, but we have to get everybody on board, and everybody would have to use it. But if we have 3 people in the restroom, signed out to go to the restroom, and somebody else asks to go to the restroom, we're going to be able to see that there's already 3 people at the restroom in the high school hallway. And it'll also track, the data of what kids are getting out of class at the same time. Because I'll tell you, I mean, I've had this verified by 2 different students. They coordinated time to go to the restroom. One of them has a device. All of them use it, so if they get caught, one person takes the consequences. So, we would be able to detect with this electronic hall pass, it would help us detect whether or not they were, you know, which same kids were checking out of classes at the same time. Is it gonna work? I don't know. I think it's worth a try to see if we can at least impact it in some way. It's really, it's a big concern. So I'm open for input, you know.
Well, I still think if you catch narcotics in our school, they need to be going. That person is gone.
No, if it's narcotics, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I've had all of these looked at, and some of them tested to see if they contain narcotic, and they don't. I had one narcotic pen last year that we dealt with. It was 2 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah. But as of now, I haven't found any other narcotics. And we did bring drug dogs in the other day and did a very thorough search. Came up with nothing. Doesn't mean it's not there. It might mean that they keep it where they park off campus somewhere else. But no, I'm with you on that, Vance. If it's a narcotic, and they need to get help and stuff. But like I said, I'm open to suggestions. I don't know what the right answers on this are. So.
I personally think if they're caught with anything like that, any narcotics, anything, and if they're on basketball, football, volleyball, any team, they're done for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I don't care how much of an all-star they are on any sport, they need to be done.
And the handbook, the way it's written right now, this isn't a narcotic.
But
I mean, just to clarify the difference. The handbook, the way it's written now, they miss a week of competition.
I'd say
Yeah.
they're done.
But, I mean, if we change the handbook, that's possible, but,
There's gotta be something done, because it sounds like right now, it's just kind of, okay, we're taking it away from you, but nothing's happening.
There's a lot of policies in this handbook that need reviewed this summer, before fall school, in my opinion.
And that's just the sad thing with the open lunch too, is you have a lot of things that go on that you don't want going on either. Not, you know, I'm not saying I'm against open lunches, I'm just saying they can leave and get the refill or whatever they need.
Still, the bad part about that is you're punishing everybody,
Yep.
and that's not fair.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a punishment. It's a change. They may feel like it's a punishment, but I don't think it's a punishment. There's other schools that don't have open lunch, and somehow them kids survive it, their parents survive it.
But you're taking something away that a lot of the kids like
Right.
and get a benefit from.
Yeah, I still want open lunches, but if you have some problems with some kids, then punish those kids, don't punish everybody.
I mean, that'd be pretty easy if you found out on some kid, they don't get open lunches no more either.
I have taken open lunches away from kids before for being late more than anything, if they can't get back from lunch on time.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's all I have, other than I'll be meeting with the teachers, like I said, on Friday, and we'll be discussing some policies and stuff. I'll be getting their input. Any questions, any other questions?
How
comments?
soon before you go, campaign?
I don't know.
I think it'd be Saturday.
Be after June 15th, so.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, computer classes at the elementary level, we're gonna basically do away with our computer lab and do those activities in the classroom. We've got a device for every kid. It doesn't really make sense that we're taking the kindergarten classroom, the devices that they know and use, and taking them to a different location to do those activities. At some point, they need to learn how to log into a PC and file folders and type and do all of those things, but we'll do those activities more in the classroom at the elementary level. And then that room will become our intervention room, where we have our MTSS pull-out time and those things, focus that area more on that. Is our plan for that next year. The math curriculum resources we were looking at, decided to hold off on that. I couldn't find anybody in the area that was using this particular resource that matches with our high school, and there's enough questions about it from some of the teachers that it didn't really make sense to go ahead and do that right now and make a 6-year commitment when we're not sure. So pulled the plug on that. We'll take time next year and let Mrs. Peterson take them through that process and find a good curriculum tool. Enrollment audit, we went through that here right in the perfect time of year in May, when we have lots of time to devote to giving information to the auditor. That was sarcastic, I'm sorry. But it was supposed to have been done a long time ago, and then they canceled, and it was virtual audit, so they weren't in the building, and so that was about, I don't know, 8 to 10 times the amount of work to do that, to collect everything and digitize it and send it to them, and it was a mess. Anyway, it's done. Elisa didn't lose her mind or quit. And so this is your budget look. We don't have it officially yet, but this really isn't any different than what I had estimated as far as our FTE right at 570. And so this is, sorry, you can't see all that. So for this current budget year, when they do the audit, we really don't know our real budget until they do the enrollment audit. So the general fund difference over last year is about 73,000. LOB about 24,000. Again, that's not exact yet till I get that final audit report, but pretty close to what we expected. Next year, we're going to drop off a little bit. This year, we're allowed to use this 312.5 number. You can use last year or the prior year's enrollment. Well, next year, our choices are 304 or 307. So we're losing some numbers there. So that increase in base state aid is kind of taken away with a little bit from our loss in enrollment. From there, it goes to Consumer Price Index, which I think the legislature will find a way to get it away from that, because our Consumer Price Index is what, 8% now? 8%. So when it was 2%, they were perfectly happy to pass that legislation, but now that it's 8%, that's a little different. So I'll let you know if anything's different on when I get the final audit report. Activities Association has a proposed policy for a multiplier for private schools. So there's a concern that private schools are winning all the state championships. You have a 4A high school in a metropolitan area that all the metropolitan schools are competing in 5 and 6A against each other, and now we have private school. We can limit our enrollment, and, recruit all we want, and so the policy basically is that if there's a very successful private school, multiple championships, there's some specific criteria, then there's a multiplier that increases their enrollment size. And then if there's some other, like poverty, if there's very, very low poverty, then there's another multiplier on top of that. So it's really just looking at those schools that have a lot of state championships. We get a vote on that. I would recommend voting for that if you all thought differently. My concern was schools like maybe Central Christian and Hodge. They're tiny. They don't win state championships every year. I'd hate to see them have to compete at 3A or something like that, but it doesn't do that. It really ties it to those schools winning state championships and being in a larger populated area.
Me age.
So yes vote is to make me age 6.
Yeah.
6A will all vote against this. But
There are
32.
There are 0 private schools in 6A. All of the 6A schools are public schools. So we plan to vote for that unless you had other info. Strategic planning, I left this on here. I've done almost nothing on it. I mentioned our facilities needs assessment. Communication, I've got lots of ideas for some specific strategies to improve what we're doing, but I haven't done a lot of work on that, trying to get through the year. Same thing with the board attorney. I've not gotten requests for proposals or reached out on that, but really need to get that before July. Legislative update. The Parents' Bill of Rights was one of those that was coming through that 0 parents in the state said it needed to happen. That was vetoed. It was more of just a perception issue that parents need to have the right to inspect curriculum and have a say, and they do. And we welcome that. The transgender females on female sports teams was vetoed. KISA already has a policy in there about that. That's not something we've had to wade through yet, but we may have to. The planned increases from the Supreme Court lawsuit are in place. You saw those budget numbers and what that does for us. Property tax relief, currently our general fund valuation, your house, the first 20,000 is exempt from general fund mill levy. They increased that to 40,000. So a little bit of a tax break, at least for that portion, our general fund portion of, that doesn't affect us at all because the state makes up that. We don't collect enough in the 20 mills for general fund to cover our general fund. Almost no school districts do. As far as funding goes, the special education funding is not increasing with actual costs or inflation. I think I sent a note to you about it. Well, the law says 92% of excess costs should be covered by the state. This coming year it's about 70. It's gradually been going down just because it's not been keeping up with costs. And for us, that's about $124,000 this last year, the prior year, that we have to take out of our general fund budget to pay the increased assessment, so they go out and cover those costs. So that's a big deal. And in a year where there's a $3 billion surplus roughly in our state's budget, this would have been a good time to correct that $150 million shortfall, but it did not.
It wasn't for lack of trying.
Yeah. Any questions on any legislation? Nothing too terrible to deal with, but. All right, that's all I have for my report.
Thank you. Okay, executive session.
I need 15 minutes with me and Mr. White.
Okay.
Mr. President, I move that the board go into executive session to discuss specific individuals being hired or resigning and the performance of specific employees pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under KOMA, with Mr. Meyer and Mr. White to be included, and that we return to open session at 8:32 in this room.
All right.
It's been moved and seconded that the board go into executive session to discuss specific individuals being hired or resigning and the performance of specific employees pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under KOMA, with Mr. White and Mr. Meyer to be included. That we return to open session at 8:32 in this room. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
We will have those 3 items.
Okay. Call the meeting back to order. Resignations and contracts.
I have a resignation letter here from Amy Unruh. Her last day will be June 17th. Recommend to approve that resignation.
I'm going to accept Amy Unruh's resignation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept Amy Unruh's resignation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I have a list of supplemental contracts there for you to approve. I'd recommend approving it as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the supplemental contract list as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
And I would recommend approving to hire Brittany White as the life director for the
Is
upcoming
that her
school year.
name now?
No. Darn it.
I don't know either, because I tried to find out too. She's not given me her,
The girl
Formerly
formerly
known
known
as.
Let's approve it as Brittany White. and I'll
she's
get
in
it
the
changed.
process
Yeah.
of getting her new social security card, all
Okay, I
that.
should know that, but it escapes me right now, so.
Okay.
Recommend approving Brittany for the life director.
So,
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Brittany White as the life director. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, future agenda.
Got a bunch on there for June meeting. Insurance policy, we're working on another quote for that through the pool.
Have you gotten the first one back?
No.
Okay.
Negotiated agreement, we'll see if we can hash that out between now and then.
Mr. President, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Come on.
Opposed, same sign. Everybody's so excited.